Hey everyone, Rogue Gold here. We just got done watching the special report for Year 5 Season 3 titled Vanguard for the Division 2. This is the latest update coming to the game, and the devs always do this stream to preview the new story, the new changes, everything we can expect. As usual, I watched the stream, took all of my notes, and now I'm going to recap and break down everything that you need to know. So let's get right to it. Today we were joined by Daria and Yannick, who are the community developer and creative director on the Division 2 respectively, again to discuss Year 5 Season 3 in Vanguard. Among the things they're going to talk about, they discuss the new season, including the story and the seasonal content, Project Resolve, and the PTS Phase 2 feedback, as well as a few other additions that we didn't previously know about. And they did confirm the most important part is that this all launches tomorrow, Tuesday, February 6th, so get ready for the maintenance tonight, that this then goes live immediately afterwards. I will be streaming this all tomorrow, so check the community tab for the exact timings, but get ready for all the content coming with that. They also said that there are over 35 pages of patch notes that are coming within the next few hours, is my understanding, so as soon as those are released, I will be sure to link them down in the description below so that you can check it all out for yourself. But let's dive in. They began with the typical NGN analyst report. Great to see these still going on, and he just recaps what has gone on in the story up until this point. Last season, we saved 5 hostages, including Birdie, who is Vikram Malik's sister, and she has a lot of sensitive intel, being one of the key people that Natalia Sokolova was using for technical purposes. And that includes, as he says, Natalia's plan for the mobile shade servers that she is collecting, and Birdie was helping to figure out how to supply power to them. And he also covers how Agent Kelso, who is one of our, most well-known and trusted Division agents from the Division 2 story, there was a lot of questions brought up at the end of last season, given we learned that Brian Johnson was the recruiter, if Kelso is potentially a hunter, and we can't say for certain because she has gone missing. And that brings us straight into the new season titled Vanguard. They played the trailer. It was in a very cool animated style, kind of a throwback to one of these that they did for the release of Warlords of New York. It was narrated by Manny. There's a theme of distrust through this whole thing, and it was honestly very cool. Again, they talk about how Kelso left at the end of season 11 to check on Haven, see what's going on in New York, and we haven't heard from her since. And so because of that, this entire season is going to be themed on investigation. They are doing another spin on the Manhunt content style. There is no specific targets to hunt down. Rather, it is a season-wide location investigation. So they showed the seasonal calendar, and every time that we get, what would normally be a new target, it is a new district of Manhattan that we're going to be going into, completing some objectives, and pursuing Kelso on whatever trail she's on. So you can see the dates for when those unlock on screen. We also are getting 2 apparel events this season. One is a brand new one on February 20th titled Veiled Tactics. We'll get to those outfits slightly later. And then they are also confirming that they're continuing the trend of bringing back old apparel events like they did these past few weeks with Phoenix Down. We are getting Last Resort, which originally was out way back in Season 3 in 2020. That's coming on April 16th. And then they just previewed a few of the new items that are coming with this season. We have Aegis, which is the new gear set, visually themed around the Last Man Battalion faction from the Division 1, so that's quite cool. We have the new Rugged Gauntlets exotic gloves. These have a cool little blue hue to them, but these are the controversial ones that everyone was talking about, and again, we'll talk about these more in a minute. We have the new Mosquito exotic pistol that deals a lot with aggro and threat management, and then lastly, we have the Vindicator, which is the new exotic rifle, and it is going to be exclusive to the Descent game mode. Talking more about the season pass specifically, as per usual, it will cost 1,000 premium credits if you want to get the upgraded version, and that gives you additional cosmetic rewards and a few material bundles, things like that. The new main outfit that they're showing off, and this looks pretty cool I think, is a new samurai mask and outfit that is going to be available exclusively within the Year 5 Season 3 pass. Beyond that, we're also getting 9 new weapon skins. They previewed a few of these with the likes of the Tommy gun being in there. The G36 has a pretty cool one. The MP5 ST has the coolest of these ones they showed. I really wish it was on the other MP5 variant, but it's okay. That looks very cool. And we're also getting 10 new gear dyes, 2 new emotes, and again 2 vanity outfits. One is the samurai one, and one is this other more tactical one that they showed off. They then previewed the brand new Veiled Tactics apparel event. It has a more armored and tactical theme, and they kind of pointed out that they try to alternate their styles, every season between more military and agent as well as more civilian and more out there, like they said with last season with the kind of cyberpunk theme that they went for. But this time around, Veiled Tactics, again, very tactical themed. It's going to have 4 outfits and then a 5th one as a completion reward once you get the rest. And then once again, they talked about Last Resort, which will return from Season 3 in April, and this one is themed around the cleaners Stormtroopers and Rikers, again, those kind of New York and Warlords factions. That's why they brought it back this season. They also then dropped a very key and cool piece of information that I think a lot of people are going to be very excited about, myself included, which is the fact that we are getting the outfits for all 4 of Keener's rogue agents from the Warlords of New York expansion, as well as Keener's outfit himself. Throughout the duration of this season, those 5 outfits will rotate through the premium store, so you are going to have to pay real money for these. And they are going to be uniforms. You don't get the individual pieces. You have to put it on as a full set, but I know people have requested this for a very long time, and specifically for that Keener outfit, I am so hyped for that to come in. That's going to look sick, so look forward to that. Alright, they then covered a few results from the previous phases of the public test server for this update. We've gone over these already in the kind of dev notes they released, but just to very quickly go over the 4 main ones they talked about. The new Behind You talent, it is now going to be exclusive to rifles and marksman rifles. That was their original intention, but especially once they saw the power that this thing had with automatic weapons in the PTS, they definitely wanted to revert that. They have also retooled the damage it was offering because it was not scaling correctly, so that's now all been adjusted. But the localization that reflects these changes won't be there tomorrow, even though the damage is the new values, but that localization change to the text in the talent description will come in Title Update 20.1. The Ortiz Assault interface talent from the Vindicator also has been lowered from 75 to 40% damage. This is adjusted again in-game, but the localization also will not come until TU 20.1. They talked about the rugged gauntlets. They know that this one was controversial. They talked about the feedback of it being underpowered. They did fix a few bugs that should make it feel more as it was intended to, but they also recognize that this one isn't going to be for everybody. They say their exotic design philosophy is not to make, each one more powerful than the last that they've released, but some of them are meant to be more creative for unique playstyles and purposes, so they hope that some people will have fun with this one. And then they just lastly talked about the change they're making to Hunter's Fury, which is that the 3-piece bonus is being reduced to 50% health on kill to adjust for the big health buffs that they introduced in the various brand set changes that they made with Project Resolve. They then went into Project Resolve more broadly. Again, a lot of this has already been discussed, and Daria did underscore at the start of this section that the dev overview video that they posted, as well as the VOD for the dedicated stream they did for Project Resolve, are both still live online. I'll link those down below in the description, so if you have missed out on the coverage and you want the full details on what this big health update that is coming in this season, is all encompassing, check those links out for sure. But they overviewed some of the bigger changes, so I'm basically just going to majorly highlight the new stuff that we learned, and then just quickly breeze over some of the old stuff that we already knew. They did confirm that Project Resolve has been in the works from August 2023 until now, and that it's, quite a long investment of time and resources to really pull this off. And they say once again that it is primarily there to fix game stability, infrastructure, etc. And Yannick did talk about, and this was cool to hear, that the team was quite excited to be able to go back and fix things instead of just having to accept the norm of shipping some flawed content. He says that the people who work on the game are truly passionate and they don't want the game to be plagued by all of these issues. So for them to finally be able to address the backlog that they had of all of these things was quite exciting for them. And because of that, it actually, the amount of stuff they accomplished within this time window was far beyond what they had originally anticipated. So that's pretty cool. And they do say that Resolve is an ongoing effort, even though, the bulk of it is coming right now. They are going to continue to improve things down the line, so continue leaving feedback, and we'll see what changes are made over the coming updates. Alright, then again, they went over some of the main things. We'll just go through quickly. The gear lock, they heard the feedback, it's being rolled back, but they do want to find another solution to address the problems that the gear lock was intended to fix, albeit they want to do it in a less impactful way. But this one specific change is still coming to the Conflict PvP game mode, but that will be into 20.1. Speaking of Conflict, it now has an extended loot pool. Caches give you 2 items with chances for a third. They are of legendary difficulty quality, which is quite cool. Big XP boost to make it more worthwhile as a mode. Shade levels and expertise bonuses have been disabled for, balancing purposes and more accessibility for newer players. They said in this mode, player skill to supersede gear investment, meaning just how much time you put into systems like expertise. That sounds awesome to me. I can't wait for that change to go live tomorrow. And Yannick said, which I thought was an interesting statement, that Conflict is for fairness, whereas the Dark Zone is for who's the strongest and who's invested the most time into the game. So that's the philosophy they're going for, and that's what we're going to see tomorrow. Expertise, again, we've talked about this before, but they're doing a big cost reduction, so that system should be a bit more accessible. They talked about the new tinkering feature, and they did have a video here to show off some of the changes they're talking about. It is the renamed recalibration station that is now called the tinkering station. They've rolled recal and optimization into one menu to make it flow better, be more accessible and understandable. And the big main change is that you can now use this from your menu anywhere in the game. You don't have to go back to the base, even though you can still access it there. This can, go with you anywhere that you go. They did cover some of the changes to global events because this was not available to test or see, visually in the PTS. They have buffed the other 5 events to close the gap between those and Golden Bullet, which is the community favorite and arguably the one that makes you the strongest. So they said their overall goal is to make it more fun when you play the event right and less punishing when you don't. So they showed a few preview videos. It's hard to really gain the full sense of what's changing from these, but with Guardians, you can now damage non-Guardian enemies among some other changes. For Hollywood, they have tripled the explosion range, and spec ammo also drops on kill. I'm quite excited to try this one out, actually. I think that's going to be pretty fun. Polarity switch, you only now lose stacks if you kill a hostile of the wrong polarity, not just shooting them like previously, and now you also get your magazine refilled if you if you kill a hostile of the correct polarity. SHD Exposed, they said there's no drastic changes, but just a lot of small tweaks to make the flow better and overall make the event more fun. And for Reanimated, they've tripled the headshot damage and explosion radius among a few other things, so again, that should be a lot more fun. They talked about Descent, again, we've talked about all this before, but there is a new talent rotation concept in place to hopefully help narrow down what talents are available since they are continually expanding the pool. So it's going to rotate every 3 days. In each pool is 35 talents and 6 exotic talents. But they did say the number of talents in these, the rotation timer, that can all change in the future depending on feedback. They've also made adjustments to the overall duration of the mode. They said the minimum Nemesis loop you can now reach is 4 instead of 5, and the max is now 9. They also talked about the NSA shop. They're finally adding in rewards here that you can spend your credits on, because previously, once you got the upgrades for the mode itself, there was nothing to spend it on. So you can now purchase the 4 different color versions of the Descent outfit to use out in the rest of the game. That'll be available there. You can also buy exotic, named, and reconstructed caches. And they also clarified that you will now be granted more caches and rewards for the same number of loops reached within the mode as before. They then talked about a few quality of life things. They did confirm that the skill mod duplication removal whole system that they're bringing in is coming. This wasn't really a thing that I think we got to see in the PTS, but they said the goal is again to make inventory management less cumbersome. At its most basic level, what this is doing is that it is now going to auto-update the highest value of each mod that you have per slot. So if you have a 4.5% turret damage mod, right, and you get one that's 4.7, it's just going to automatically replace that. You will now have that highest value in your inventory, and it will auto deconstruct to the lowest value one. You'll be granted those materials, and by doing this, it's now more of a slot-based thing instead of an actual management thing. Some people are going to like it. Some I know are frustrated that you can no longer share these with your teammates, so that's just what they're doing. They showed off some new stash UI. It's going to show you the slot capacity when you walk by it without having to go into the menu, which is a small change, but it can definitely be nice. And then this was one of the bigger bombshells of the stream. They're adding in a new textile vendor, which is something that a lot of people have been asking for a long time. Important to note, this will not actually be there tomorrow. Again, it is being introduced in Title Update 20.1, which should, I think, be on February 20th with the release of the apparel event, so we gotta wait a little bit for this. But yeah, you now have something to spend your textiles on. This vendor is going to act the same as Cassie Mendoza, where every time they are available, you have to go and track them down within the world. But in their inventory, you will be able to purchase exotic, optimization, and named caches per, week or per rotation. I don't know how often this vendor is going to be around. But Yannick did clarify that they do have a set stock amount of each of these. Meaning, according to the video, you can only get like 1 exotic cache per week or rotation. And he said that's just to prevent people from spending the like 200,000 they have all at once and just kind of, skewing the imbalance of the game there. So that's quite exciting. As I said, definitely one of the bigger highlights of this stream, I think, for me. They talked about a few other things beyond that. New commendations are coming for the Paradise Lost Incursion, Countdown, Descent, maybe some other stuff. And they said to expect a more regular cadence of commendations being re-added to the game, because that's something they haven't done for a while. One small change made to the projects revamp. If you didn't know, they're making projects more fun to complete, also a lot more rewarding. They're now standard, going to give you 1 exotic component per daily project completion and 3 for weekly project completion. And they also mentioned that with this update, they are actually going to be wiping a lot of the leaderboards across the game. They're going to retain some of them that really show off the best achievements and completion for stuff like raids, I think. But they said that because they haven't monitored these in such a long time, and because there's been various exploits over time, they want to kind of start fresh. And then in the future, they hope to be more proactive in monitoring these and keeping them more fair. So expect that to happen when this goes live tomorrow. Lastly, we move on to the Q&A section that they usually do at the end. Somebody asked about brand new leaderboards. Yannick said it's possible. Again, they want to add renewed purpose to them since they were previously unmonitored, so who knows what they might do there in the future. There were questions on if the Vindicator will get added somewhere else in the loot pool of the entire game later on. They said maybe, but for now it's going to be exclusive to Descent, and it will not get added to your general loot pool after you purchase it from the Descent vendor. It will act the same as, say, the Ouroboros or the Eagle Bear, where it stays exclusive to that specific source. Someone asked about specialization grenades being used on any spec, and they said for now they're still tied to your specific specialization. People asked about legendary open world difficulty. They said no current plans to add anything above heroic on the open world. They did acknowledge the power creep thing, which is something that I made a video on recently, and a lot of you had a lot of very strong thoughts about. But as I, said in that video, as I predicted, and Yannick said here, they do already have this in mind, that they know the very top end of players are left without much challenges in the game anymore. So he said stay tuned for the future because they already have some plans in mind on what they're going to do there. And then lastly, somebody asked if we're going to get more legendary missions, and then he said that because it is only with strongholds for now, they don't currently have plans to add legendary to regular missions within the game. And there you go, my friends. That is your recap for the Year 5 Season 3 special report stream for The Division 2. A little bit lighter this time, mainly because they've already covered Project Resolve in such detail, especially with the dedicated stream they had back in December. But overall, I'm very excited for this update tomorrow. As I've said before, as a PvP player, I'm really excited for the conflict changes and the overall PvP balancing stuff they're doing. For the season specifically, whether it's the cosmetics, whether it's the premise, whether it's whatever, I'm really excited to get back to New York. We have a bit of a new flow this season without targets. It's more of an investigation style. All of that stuff seems really cool to me, so I can't wait to dive into that. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on everything we covered in this video, whatever stuck out to you most. If you have any lingering questions, be sure to leave them down below. Once again, I will be going live tomorrow approximately 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, but again, check the exact timings on the community tab. Tune in, love to see you. And yeah, if I didn't say it already, be sure to subscribe for all of the content that I'm doing this week and beyond. Got a lot planned for the game, of course. But yeah, that is going to do it for me today, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Row Gold. Out.